Hello, I'm Hal, the friendly announcer bot, and if you're looking for racing, this is the right place.
Hi, I'm Ada, the co-commentator, and it's good to see you, Hal.
Here we go, folks. The atmosphere is electric as the drivers prepare to unleash their machines at Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans for the qualifying session. There are just over 50 minutes left in this qualification session. Adam Keefe is driving through Mulsanne Straight, Hanadia di S1-Race. Adam Keefe is 0.85 up driving through Mulsanne Kink.
The rest of this lap is no cakewalk. Let's hope he can keep it up.
Adam Keefe is in the green by 2.25, making his way through Indianapolis. That Mercedes-Benz C9 1989 LM looks good driving through Porsche curves. Adam Keefe is driving through Corvette and is up 1.92. Adam Keefe has completed his first flying lap in 3:17.943. Adam Keefe appears focused and prepared driving through Dunlop Curve. Loke Honors will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings.
Loke Honors is indeed a rare breed. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
It seems like Loke Honors is struggling, currently 1.9 off his best pace up through S's.
Loke Honors isn't looking great now, but I have faith he can turn this around.
The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Felix 789 is rising to the occasion. Felix 789 is off the pace 0.55 at S's.
Felix 789 is likely taking a deep breath to try and refocus his efforts.
This is what it's all about. Loke Honors is putting everything he's got into this qualifying session.
Absolutely. Loke Honors is showing the world what he's made of.
Loke Honors is not able to keep his pace consistent, so far 2.93 seconds down through Mulsanne Straight, Hanadia di S1-Race.
Loke Honors needs to regroup, refocus, and knock it up a notch.
Loke Honors is down 5.03 seconds on the way through Mulsanne. There are just over 45 minutes left in this qualification session. Virgilio Bonfim is expertly commanding that car through Maison Blanche.
This is such a great track. I need to make it back here more often.
You can feel the tension building. Felix 789 is out on track and getting ready to push for his qualifying time.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal. But I have a feeling Felix 789 is going to make it count.
This is where the mental game comes into play. D. Burkett is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Antonio Tridi is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run and get everything just right. Antonio Tridi is looking relatively composed going through Mulsanne kink. It looks like D. Burkett is getting ready to make his move. He's taking his time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
This is the moment he's been preparing for. Let's see if he can execute.
D. Burkett is working his way through Indianapolis. The adrenaline is pumping. Virgilio Bonfim is on his out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
He'll want to get a good gap established for the flying lap.
That RMT1M looks good driving through Porsche curves.
Fans sitting near Porsche curves get some of the best views of the action.
Virgilio Bonfim is driving through Maison Blanche.
If Bonfim listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
There are just over 40 minutes left in this qualification session. Felix 789 has improved by 1.68 up through Mulsanne Straight. Hanadia di S1-Race. Felix 789 is currently up 2.44 going through Mulsanne kink. Felix 789 is keeping his head down through Indianapolis.
The action and glory drivers have lived here at Indianapolis is truly historic.
Felix 789 is 4.18 up driving through Porsche curves.
If Felix looks at that delta too much, it may end up being a distraction, and all that time he found may be lost.
Felix 789 is now up 4.58 in Corvette. Felix 789 will be happy with a time good enough for second in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for him to find that missing 6.74, but that won't stop him from trying.
Virgilio Bonfim is on his first flying lap. Virgilio Bonfim is driving through Porsche curves and is up 13.61. Virgilio Bonfim appears focused and prepared driving through Maison Blanche.
There's a spot near here where the teenagers sneak off to make out.
Virgilio Bonfim has completed that flying lap in 3:47.461, which is good enough for P6, down 29.518 to the leader. Virgilio Bonfim is working his way through Dunlop chicane. Virgilio Bonfim is in the green by 1.09, making his way through Tertre Rouge. Virgilio Bonfim has improved by 1.15 up through Mulsanne kink.
All we can do now is wish Bonfim luck as the start-finish line approaches.
That RMT1N looks good driving through Indianapolis.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Indianapolis with a nice drink and some friends.
Virgilio Bonfim is 1.4 up driving through Porsche curves.
This is where drivers have to decide to push for more or just try to maintain it.
Virgilio Bonfim is currently up 1.46 going through Maison Blanche. Virgilio Bonfim has some work to do, as his best time of 3:45.469 is only good enough for 6th. Virgilio Bonfim is now up 0.11 in Dunlop curve. Virgilio Bonfim has lost 0.77 seconds so far through Tertre Rouge. Machina is expertly commanding that car through Arnage.
Don't forget to check out the views near Arnage, they are fantastic.
D. Burkett is driving through Mulsanne Strait, Hanadia Diaresis Res. Virgilio Bonfim has found an extra 0.42. Virgilio Bonfim is driving through Indianapolis and is up 0.4.
Bonfim needs all the focus and resolve he can muster to maintain this pace.
Virgilio Bonfim is in the green by 0.83, making his way through Porsche curves.
If Bonfim gets greedy, this delta could go from green to red in the blink of an eye.
Virgilio Bonfim appears focused and prepared driving through Maison Blanche. Virgilio Bonfim has some work to do, as his best time of 3:43.800 is only good enough for 6th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 25.857 gap to pole.
D. Burkett is working his way through Corvette. D. Burkett has some work to do, as his best time of 3:43.340 is only good enough for 6th. D. Burkett is 0.1 up driving through Dunlop Curve. D. Burkett is keeping his head down through Tertre Rouge.
This track has many great straights and corners, but this one is especially good.
Felix 789 is in the green by 0.13. It seems like Felix 789 is struggling, currently 0.3 off his best pace up through Tertre Rouge.
The time clock can be a cruel mistress that is all too willing to show you your faults.
Bionic Bro Mando is on his outlap.
It's a delicate balance between taking it easy and pushing hard. Let's see how Bro Mando handles it.
Bionic Bro Mando is looking relatively composed going through S's.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
Bionic Bro Mando is driving through Tertre Rouge.
Spectators near here can smell the smoke wafting from nearby grills.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Antonio Tridi is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Antonio Tridi can deliver.
It's clear that Crow is pushing his car to the very edge of traction on this qualifying lap.
It's certainly exciting to watch, but let's not forget, the goal is to secure a good starting position for the race.
Crow has improved by 0.41 up through S's.
The rest of this lap is no cakewalk. Let's hope he can keep it up.
There are just over 25 minutes left in this qualification session. D. Burkett is expertly commanding that car through Porsche curves. D. Burkett appears focused and prepared driving through Ford chicanes.
There's not much better than sitting near here and watching the cars speed by.
D. Burkett has some work to do, as his best time of 3:43.340 is only good enough for 6th.
There's at least 25.397 seconds to be found, but D. Burkett may be looking for it in the wrong places.
It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and Crow is nailing both.
Crow certainly is nailing this one. This is shaping up to be a great performance.
Crow is currently up 0.54 going through Mulsanne. Crow is working his way through Indianapolis.
The PURIANO3H2 is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride.
Crow is driving through Porsche curves and is up 0.5. Crow is now up 0.77 in Maison Blanche.
There's no guarantee that Crow can maintain this delta through the rest of the lap.
You can feel the tension building. Octavio 67 is out on track and getting ready to push for his qualifying time. Octavio 67 is keeping his head down through Mulsanne Straight, Hanadia Diaresis Res.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at Mulsanne Straight, Hanadia Diaresis Res.
Octavio 67 is driving through Mulsanne.
If Octavio listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Crow is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run and get everything just right. Makina looks to be off the pace. Ada, what can he do to improve?
Well, Hal, he'll need to find those extra tenths of a second by pushing just a little bit harder on the braking and carrying more speed through the corners.
Makina is looking relatively composed going through Ford chicanes.
The action and glory drivers have lived here at Ford chicanes is truly historic.
Makina will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session. That Mercedes-Benz C9 1989 LM looks good driving through Dunlop Curve.
There's a spot near here where the teenagers sneak off to make out.
There are just over 20 minutes left in this qualification session. Loke Onas is working his way through Arnage. Loke Onas appears focused and prepared driving through Porsche curves. The adrenaline is pumping. Jonah Hacks is on his out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused, while also pushing the limits.
Octavio 67 will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings. Octavio 67 is 0.33 up driving through Dunlop chicane.
If Octavio looks at that delta too much, it may end up being a distraction, and all that time he found may be lost.
Octavio 67 is expertly commanding that car through Tertre Rouge.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Tertre Rouge with a nice drink and some friends.
Octavio 67 is looking relatively composed going through Mulsanne King. Octavio 67 has improved by 2.48 up through Indianapolis. Octavio 67 is in the green by 3.14, making his way through Porsche curves. Octavio 67 is currently up 3.22 going through Maison Blanche. Octavio 67 just clocked a 346.224, 28.281 off of P1 and good enough for P9. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. D. Burkett is now up 0.95. D. Burkett is driving through Maison Blanche and is up 0.8. D. Burkett has some work to do, as his best time of 342.784 is only good enough for 7th. There are just over 15 minutes left in this qualification session. Adam Keefe is 6.64 up driving through Indianapolis.
This is where drivers have to decide to push for more or just try to maintain it.
Adam Keefe is driving through Porsche curves. That Mercedes-Benz C9 1989 LM looks good driving through Corvette. Adam Keefe is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 3:17.943. Octavio 67 has improved by 1.2. Octavio 67 has improved by 1.18 up through Indianapolis. Octavio 67 is working his way through Porsche curves. Octavio 67 is expertly commanding that car through Maison Blanche. Virgilio Bonfim is keeping his head down through Arnage.
I have always loved this section of the track.
Virgilio Bonfim is looking relatively composed going through Porsche curves. Virgilio Bonfim appears focused and prepared driving through Maison Blanche. Virgilio Bonfim has some work to do, as his best time of 3:43.091 is only good enough for ninth. Virgilio Bonfim is driving through Dunlop Curve. Virgilio Bonfim is working his way through Tertre Rouge.
Fans sitting near Tertre Rouge get some of the best views of the action.
That RMT1M looks good driving through Mulsanne Kink. Virgilio Bonfim is keeping his head down through Indianapolis.
This track has many great straights and corners, but this one is especially good.
Virgilio Bonfim is now up 0.37 in Porsche curves.
All we can do now is wish Virgilio luck as the start-finish line approaches.
Virgilio Bonfim appears focused and prepared driving through Maison Blanche.
This is such a great track. I need to make it back here more often.
Virgilio Bonfim has some work to do, as his best time of 3:42.420 is only good enough for 8th. Gregory Myers is in the green by 1.83. Gregory Myers is looking relatively composed going through Arnage. Gregory Myers is in the green by 1.77, making his way through Maison Blanche. Gregory Myers will be happy, with a time good enough for 4th in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. He is surely working on that 15.381 gap to pole.
Antonio Tridi is driving through Arnage and is up 1.58. Antonio Tridi is expertly commanding that car through Maison Blanche.
Don't forget to check out the views near Maison Blanche, they are fantastic.
Antonio Tridi will be happy, with a time good enough for 4th in this qualifying session. Impressive work from Virgilio Bonfim, who has claimed 8th on the grid. Now, the focus is on maintaining his composure and push for an even better starting position.
You hit the nail on the head, Hal. Bonfim's current position of 8th is a testament to his skill and determination. Now, he must stay sharp to make the most of this opportunity.
That RMT1N looks good driving through Arnage. It's an impressive showing by Felix 789, currently in 3rd. He's showcased his talent, but will need to find those crucial extra tenths to climb higher.
Absolutely, Hal. Felix has put in a remarkable effort to secure 3rd. The competition is fierce, and he'll need to stay focused to defend the position.
Incredible drive by Virgilio Bonfim so far, earning him 8th. The competition is fierce, however, and he'll need to quickly find more time to get even closer to the sharp end of the grid. Virgilio Bonfim has some work to do, as his best time of 3:42.420 is only good enough for 8th. Virgilio Bonfim is driving through Dunlop Curve. And there goes Loic Anas, currently in P7. He's shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still a chance to improve on that time.
Couldn't agree more, Hal. Loic Anas is positioned impressively in 7th. Now, he'll need to build on this foundation and strive for an even better race result.
Loic Anas appears focused and prepared driving through Porsche curves.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
Jonah Hacks has put in a great effort and currently holds 6th. With the session winding down, time is running out to unleash his full potential for a better starting position. Jonah Hacks is 0.45 up driving through S's. Octavio 67 is currently in 10th during qualifying. The challenge now is to assess his competitors and strategize how to move up the order for a better race start.
Spot-on analysis, Hal. Octavio is positioned well in 10th. It's crucial for him to maintain his focus and defend his position in the upcoming race.
What a performance from Jonah Hacks, currently in 6th on the grid. It's a good spot for now, but other drivers are trying their hardest to put in a better time and push him down the order.
I completely agree, Hal. Hacks has plenty of opportunity starting in 6th. However, it's crucial for him to keep pushing and make up some positions in the race.
Jonah Hacks is keeping his head down through Indianapolis.
The Mazda 787B is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride.
A solid qualifying performance by Octavio 67, positioned in 10th. The question now is whether he can make further progress and challenge the frontrunners.
You're absolutely right, Hal. Octavio's current position of 10th reflects his strong qualifying performance. Now, he'll need to strategize to capitalize on this starting position.
Octavio 67 is working his way through S's. A challenging session for Bionic Broman Do so far. He's currently in 12th position, which is not where he wanted to be. But in motorsport, we've seen remarkable comebacks, and he'll be hoping for better fortunes to secure a good finishing position.
I completely agree, Hal. Broman Do is in a difficult position, but needs to analyze his performance so far and make the necessary adjustments. It's all about regrouping and taking the best shot in the remaining time.
Impressive display by Jonah Hacks, currently sitting in P6. He's set a competitive time, but the question remains whether he can push even harder to secure a better starting position.
I couldn't agree more, Hal. Jonah Hacks has done a fantastic job to claim 6th. The challenge now is to convert this opportunity into a strong race result.
A tough outing for Bionic Broman Do in qualifying today, currently in 12th, which is not ideal. There's not much qualification left to regroup, analyze the data, make adjustments, and improve on that time. Bionic Broman Do is expertly commanding that car through Mulsanne Straight, Hanadia S1-Race.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at Mulsanne Straight. Hanadia diaresis res.
That Karma 308-2 looks good driving through Mulsanne. A solid performance from Octavio 67, currently holding down P10. However, with the session coming to a close, he'll need to find that extra bit of speed to move up the grid. Octavio 67 has improved by 2.57 up through Arnage. Octavio 67 is looking relatively composed going through Porsche curves.
If Octavio listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
Not the ideal start for Bionic Bromando in this qualifying session. Currently in 12th position, he'll be eager to put together a strong final lap to improve in the standings. The pressure is on, and he'll need to deliver a top-notch performance.
Absolutely, Hal. Bromando is aware of the current situation, and he'll be looking to make the most of the remaining time. He'll need to analyze his performance, work closely with his team, and find that extra bit of speed to improve his qualifying position.
Octavio 67 has secured a respectable 10th in the qualifying session. This is a great spot to use as a launchpad for a strong race performance. You've joined us on a breezy day here at Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans, as we're getting ready to get things underway. Starting in pole position gives Machina a clear advantage over the rest of the field.
Machina is sure to be excited at his prospects for this race.
Starting on the front row is a great opportunity for Adam Keefe to challenge for the lead.
He will have to be smart about his moves. He must not burn out too early.
The third position belongs to Felix 789.
It's not always easy to get the Lancia LC2 Ferrari this high up the starting grid.
Watch out for Antonio Tridi, starting from the fourth grid position in today's race.
Tridi is looking on for a strong result.
Lining up in fifth is Gregory Myers.
Gregory will be taking no prisoners today.
It's Jonah Hacks, sitting comfortably in sixth.
The Danish driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Starting from the seventh position, Octavio 67 will need to navigate through the field to challenge for the win. Loke Onas has qualified eighth. D. Burkett will be looking to gain ground quickly starting from ninth on the grid. The 10th starting position belongs to Virgilio Bonfim, who will be looking to make up ground early on. Crow may have a bit of work to do starting from 11th on the grid. Bionic Bromando is going to be starting from 12th. And they're off. The race is now in motion. This is the moment when drivers must show their mettle and find the perfect line.
Maintaining a safe distance while still pushing for position is a delicate balance. Experience and composure will be vital in these opening moments.
On the 16th grid slot we have Asotic streaming.
Streets tires for Asotic.
He's pulling away. Machina is increasing the gap to Adam Keith.
It's really looking like Machina is going to be tough to pass today. He's driving with real confidence and authority.
A tough moment for Machina, who has just lost a place, now in second. Jonah Hax wants to find a way round Felix 789.
If you don't push the boundaries you will never know where they are.
Oh my, Bionic Bromando is hot on the tail of Octavio 67 as they drive through Dunlop chicane.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Bromando and Octavio both need to stay cool under pressure.
Oh dear, Bionic Bromando has dropped down to 11th.
Yes, but he can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race, and Bromando needs to stay focused and keep pushing.
Crow is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Felix 789 has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Machina. I expect his only hope at this point is that Machina makes an error. The crowd is on its feet as Jonah Hax chases down Antonio Tridi through Mulsanne Straight. Hanadia diaresis res.
If Hax isn't careful, he might end up turning this high-speed chase into a synchronized spinning routine, and trust me, that's not a crowd pleaser.
Things are heating up as Virgilio Bonfim tries to close the gap to Octavio 67.
The gap between them is now just over 0.4 seconds.
It's a tight race with Felix 789 in fourth, just managing to stay ahead of Jonah Hax in 5 by a margin of 0.2 seconds.
This could be where Hax is going to dive up the inside. Felix is going to need to cover the inside, and that will compromise his exit speed.
Oh, this is getting intense. Jonah Hax is just a few car lengths behind Felix 789. Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to cement Antonio Tridi's legendary status.
A misjudgment by either driver could result in a close encounter of the tire barrier kind, and that's one handshake they'll want to avoid.
Great driving from Antonio Tridi, who has just gained a place and moved up to third.
Yes, Antonio Tridi is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
It's a tense battle for position between Crow in 11th and Bionic Bromando in 12th. Crow is keeping Bionic Bromando at bay with a gap of 0.1 seconds. It seems like Gregory Myers is getting in range of Jonah Hax.
It looks like Myers has the speed to make a move. I just hope he can do it cleanly.
Jonah Hax is on a mission, chasing Antonio Tridi, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
That driver is really pushing the limits. He's riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
The pursuit is on. Gregory Myers is closing the gap on Jonah Hex, determined to claim P5. It looks like Jonah Hex is pulling away from Gregory Myers. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Porsche curves. This is where the race gets really interesting. Crow is closing in on D. Burkett.
With just 0.5 seconds between them, Crow will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
This is a thrilling battle as Gregory Myers edges closer to Jonah Hex in their fight for P5.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Myers is really walking that fine line.
It's a steady race for Gregory Myers so far, keeping it clean and maintaining focus.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Myers just needs to bide his time and wait for the right opportunity.
The race is really heating up. D. Burkett is hunting down Octavio 67 with everything he's got.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Breaking update. I don't think that's the fastest way around Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans.
Oops, Bonfim is going to be wishing that hadn't happened.
Every move counts now as Gregory Myers works to reel in Jonah Hex and overtake for P5.
It's a game of strategy now as Myers hunts down Hex. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
The gap between Virgilio Bonfim and D. Burkett is not insurmountable, but it's going to take a mistake from Virgilio Bonfim to bring D. Burkett into play.
You're spot on, and D. Burkett knows that he can't rely on Bonfim making an error. He will need to drive with skill and determination, and be ready to seize any opportunity that arises.
Hold on a moment. Superb driving from Virgilio Bonfim, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. It's a game of inches now as Octavio 67 tails Virgilio Bonfim closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake. Gregory Myers wants to get into Jonah Hex's slipstream.
There is no room for error in this battle.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Octavio 67 is chasing Virgilio Bonfim in P8. The gap between Octavio 67 and Virgilio Bonfim is growing. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Octavio needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Virgilio.
The battle for P10 is heating up as D. Burkett tries to catch Crow in P10.
The gap is 0.8 seconds now. D. Burkett is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Crow.
The gap between D. Burkett and Crow is widening. It's now up to 1.2 seconds. In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown.
One wrong move and we could see a spectacular new synchronized pirouette performance by Myers and Jonah Hex, though I doubt the judges would give them a perfect score.
It's not going to plan for Gregory Myers, who is trailing behind Jonah Hex and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. Ada, what's the impact of tire degradation on race strategy? How does it affect a driver's approach to the race?
Tire degradation plays a crucial role in race strategy. How? Teams and drivers have to consider the optimal time to pit for fresh tires and adjust their race pace to balance speed with tire conservation. It adds another layer of complexity to the racing challenge.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for D. Burkett as there is a big gap ahead.
Every race adds to a driver's experience, both good and bad. It just highlights that D. Burkett is going to have to get more serious with practice to not get outclassed on the circuit.
Gregory Myers is running 6th and trying to keep up with Jonah Hex.
Myers is looking to close the 0.6 second gap and make a pass.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. D. Burkett appears to be losing ground on Crow. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Ford chicanes to get a good exit and gain some ground.
D. Burkett needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way. If he can close the gap down, He may be able to bring the fight to Crow.
Gregory Myers is giving it his all, chasing down Jonah Hex in P5. It's certainly not going to plan for Gregory Myers right now, who is struggling to keep up with Jonah Hex. Hold the phone. Looks like that's a mistake from Crow. This could be costly.
This is where the mental toughness of Greg comes into play. He'll need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way.
Looks like Gregory Myers is really pushing it to the limit. He's taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
Hold up, breaking info. Big gains for Gregory Myers as they move up the field, leaving Jonah Hex behind.
This is where every inch counts. Greg is pushing hard to close the gap on Hex. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Disappointing for Gregory Myers, falling down the order to 6th. Crow is looking for an opportunity to get around Bionic Bromando.
For sure, Hal. That's exactly what I would be doing here, as Bromando is going to be aware of him riding his bumper.
Gregory Myers seems to be putting the pressure on Jonah Hex.
If Greg get too close, he might end up taking the paint off.
Crow is running 12th and trying to catch Bionic Bromando.
The mental game is just as important here. Crow must keep his cool while putting pressure on Bromando.
It looks like Bionic Bromando is pulling away from Crow. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Mulsanne.
This is a frustrating situation for Crow, but he can't give up just yet. He'll need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Bionic Bromando.
Gregory Myers is staying focused while chasing Jonah Hex in P5.
I would not be surprised to see him challenge for the position.
Look at that, Crow is hot on the tail of Bionic Bromando. Crow is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Bionic Bromando at the moment. Things don't seem to be going Gregory Myers' way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Wait. A great pass for Gregory Myers as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Jonah Hex has lost ground.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Greg can't afford to get complacent.
Crow is on a mission, chasing Bionic Bromando, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. The gap between Crow and Bionic Bromando is widening. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
This is a tough situation for Crow. He'll need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
The gap between Loc Honnes and Virgilio Bonfim is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Loc Honnes to even allow Virgilio to get a look in. Breaking news, folks. Heartbreak for Virgilio Bonfim as they slip down the field. Things are heating up as Crow tries to close the gap to Bionic Bromando.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Crow should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to Bromando.
It's not going to plan for Crow, who is trailing behind Bionic Bromando and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. D. Burkett has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Octavio 67. I expect his only hope at this point is that Octavio makes an error.
It's not over until a checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
The pressure is on as Crow tries to catch up to Bionic Bromando. It seems like Crow is struggling. His last lap time was a bit off the pace of Bionic Bromando. It's all about consistency for Antonio Tridi, who is currently 4th.
Definitely Hal, but Antonio Tridi can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
Oh no, Ada, look at this. Gregory Myers is closing in on Antonio Tridi. The gap is now just 5.0 seconds.
Can Antonio Tridi keep Myers behind? Let's see.
Oh, this is getting intense. Crow is just a few car lengths behind Bionic Bromando. It's game on now. Crow has closed the gap to Bionic Bromando. It's now down to 0.3 seconds. A solid performance from Machina, who is holding down 2nd.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Machina has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
Crow is so close to Bromando that if this were a dance floor, they'd be doing the tango.
Hold that thought. Oh, things are getting intense for Crow. He's sandwiched between TV Crew and Bionic Bromando, navigating this high-speed battleground. The gap to the car ahead is 0.2 seconds, while the car behind is only 0.1 seconds away.
Spot-on analysis, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind are like a double-edged sword for Crow. He can use the gaps to his advantage, but also needs to be aware of the threats from both directions.
Oh, the pressure is on for Crow. Trapped between TV Crew 0.1 seconds away and Bionic Bromando just ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds, he must defend his position while seeking an opportunity to advance.
I couldn't agree more, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind provide valuable information for Crow. He'll need to assess the situation and use the gaps strategically to plan the next move.
This will require some expert driving from Felix 789. Machina is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second.
This is where experience comes into play. Machina has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Felix is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
Breaking update. Talk about being caught in the middle. Crow is sandwiched between some fierce competitors. TV Crew 0.1 seconds behind and Bionic 0.1 seconds ahead. The battle for position is on. It's a close race between Crow and Bionic Bromando in 11th.
With the way Crow is stalking Bionic Bromando, you'd think he's trying to figure out what he had for breakfast this morning.
Bionic Bromando is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors. Braking alert. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Bionic Bromando gaining places and Crow losing them.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Bionic Bromando needs to stay patient and wait for Crow to make a mistake.
Breaking news, folks. An impressive showing from Crow, who has gained positions and left Bionic Bromando in the dust. The intensity is off the charts as Crow hounds Bionic Bromando, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Hold on a second. Tough break for Crow, who has just lost a position. That's not a small gap, but Virgilio Bonfim has what it takes to challenge for the position. It looks like we might get a battle between Virgilio Bonfim and D. Burkett.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
Looks like we've had a few incidents out there.
Someone forgot to take their driving lessons. They're making more U-turns than a confused tourist.
Hilarious. I think they might need to call their GPS for directions. Maybe it can help them navigate the track. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure Crow is going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. He's not giving up without a fight. Good news for Crow, the gap to Bionic Bro Mando has decreased. It's now down to 0.4 seconds. Hold that thought. What a move. Crow has moved up to 11th.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about. He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
The pursuit is on. Bionic Bro Mando is working on that gap to Crow, determined to claim P11. The gap between Bionic Bro Mando and Crow is growing. It's now up to 0.7 seconds.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but that's not always a real possibility.
D. Burkett is pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap to Octavio 67. There's 19 minutes left in this session to make that happen. D. Burkett appears to be losing ground on Octavio 67. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Dunlop chicane to get a good exit and gain some ground. Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners, it's like they're on rails.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers were chugging along.
All joking aside, I bet they were. Things have come a long way since then, haven't they?
Definitely. It's amazing to think about the technology that goes into these cars now. I mean, they have more computing power than some countries.
The race is heating up as Jonah Hacks in 6th closes in on Gregory Myers. The gap between Jonah Hacks and Gregory Myers is getting smaller. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Bionic Bro Mando as there is a big gap ahead.
Bionic Bro Mando certainly isn't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from Crow.
It seems like Bionic Bro Mando is pushing hard, currently on track to record his best lap so far this race.
Bro Mando appears to be pushing, hopefully he can keep it together.
Things are going according to plan for Loc Anas, who is currently 7th. Excellent work from Loc Anas, who has managed to increase his lead over Octavio 67.
That's a really strong performance from Loc Anas. He's not giving Octavio any chances to catch up.
The race is really heating up. Bionic Bro Mando is hunting down Crow with everything he's got. It's not looking good for Bionic Bro Mando, who is still behind Crow and the gap is increasing. We often hear drivers complaining about tire graining. Ada, can you explain what that means and how it affects car handling?
Graining occurs when small rubber particles roll up on the tire's surface, reducing grip and negatively affecting handling. It usually happens when the tires are not in their optimal temperature window or when a driver is pushing too hard on a cold or overworked tire.
Octavio 67 is placed 8th at the moment.
Yes, but Octavio has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
The gap between Octavio 67 and D. Burkett is getting smaller. It's now down to 2.2 seconds.
He'll need to step up his game and start pulling away again.
Bionic Bro Mando is looking for a way to close that gap to Crow. It's certainly not going to plan for Bionic Bro Mando right now, who is struggling to keep up with Crow. Fantastic racing on show here today, and it's not just the top drivers who are impressing us. Even the drivers at the back of the pack are putting up a good fight, battling it out for every position.
It's a testament to the level of competition at ASRL. Even the smallest mistake can cost you valuable seconds, or even lead to a crash. But these drivers are up to the challenge, and they're giving it their all. It's clear that ASRL really is the place to be for top quality racing.
Well, it doesn't look like D. Burkett is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Octavio 67.
Every race adds to a driver's experience, both good and bad. It just highlights that D. Burkett is going to have to get more serious with practice to not get outclassed on the circuit.
D. Burkett is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Octavio 67 to 0.8 seconds.
Exactly what D. Burkett needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Octavio.
As a former racing driver, Ada, how challenging was it to adapt your driving style to account for tire degradation throughout a race?
It was a constant challenge, Hal. Tire degradation can change the car's balance and handling, so drivers need to be versatile and adaptable. It requires continuous adjustments to driving techniques and a keen understanding of the car's behavior.
It's looking good for Bionic Bromando, sitting in 11th. It looks like Gregory Myers is pushing hard to catch up to Antonio Tridi.
Absolutely. Greg in 5th will need to be patient and work carefully to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as he can't afford to take unnecessary risks, and that might lead to an off or damaging their car.
It's game on now. Gregory Myers has closed the gap to Antonio Tridi. It's now down to 5.2 seconds. Well, it looks like we have a bit of a traffic jam on the track.
It's like rush hour out there. I mean, I know we're in a race, but can't we all just get along?
You can wish all you want, but I don't think that's how racing works, Ada. These drivers are here to win, and they'll do whatever it takes to get ahead.
I guess you're right, but wouldn't it be great if they all just stopped for high fives and fist bumps?
A strong showing from Machina, who is currently second.
That's right, Machina can't afford to make any mistakes or let up. Every point counts in this championship.
Oh, Ada. Machina has seen his lead over Felix 789 shrink to 10.8 seconds.
That's a worrying sign for Machina.
A solid performance from Machina, who is holding down second.
Definitely Hal, but Machina can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
It's all about consistency for Antonio Tridi, who is currently fourth. Some great driving from Antonio Tridi, who has increased his lead over Gregory Myers and is starting to put some distance between them.
That's exactly what Antonio Tridi needed to do.
The drivers are showing their mettle today. It's a privilege to witness their skill on this challenging track.
The stakes have never been higher. This is a battle of skill and nerves.
That's right. These drivers are really pushing themselves to the limit, and it's incredible to see the level of focus and determination they're bringing to the track.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to compete at this level, and these drivers have it in spades. Let's hope they can keep it up and give us a race to remember.
Things are going according to plan for Bionic Bromando, who is currently 11th. Things are starting to get tense as Crow manages to close the gap to Bionic Bromando. It's now down to 3.7 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to mount on Bromando. He'll need to stay focused and not make any mistakes.
The battle for P8 is heating up as D. Burkett tries to catch Octavio 67 in P8. D. Burkett is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Octavio 67 at the moment.
This is not ideal for D. Burkett, but there's still time to turn this around. He'll need to focus and not let that gap get any bigger.
It's a brilliant day for racing here at Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. I'm really enjoying this.
This race is truly epic. What a treat to be sat here witnessing this spectacle.
Crow is on a mission, chasing Bionic Bromando, who's currently got a comfortable lead.
Absolutely. Precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
It looks like Crow is making a move. The gap to Bionic Bromando is now down to 0.6 seconds. This race is getting even more intense. The drivers are pushing each other to the limit.
It's like they're playing a game of chicken, but with cars. And the winner gets to take home the checkered flag in bragging rights.
That's one way to put it. These drivers have to be in top physical and mental shape to compete at this level.
It's like they're training for the Olympics. And like you said, the mental fortitude required to stay focused and alert for the entire race is wild.
I think I need a nap just watching them. The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Crow in 12th chases after Bionic Bromando. It looks like Bionic Bromando is pulling away from Crow. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Mulsanne.
Crow really needs to push in Mulsanne to gain some ground before Bromando drives off into the sunset.
Antonio Tridi is placed 4th at the moment.
Absolutely, and he'll need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
It looks like Gregory Myers is starting to catch up to Antonio Tridi. The gap is now down to 7.6 seconds. So, Ada, considering the high speeds and split-second decision-making involved in racing, what's the impact of even a minor lapse in concentration?
A minor lapse in concentration can have significant consequences. How? It could lead to an off-track excursion, a loss of position, or even a collision. That's why it's crucial for drivers to stay focused and alert throughout the race.
We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race as Bionic Bromando is starting to climb all over the back of Crow. Any closer and he may need to pop the boot.
Crow needs to get the lead out how, otherwise his backside is gonna look like the Japanese flag come the morning.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Bromando needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
The gap between Bionic Bromando and Crow is widening. It's now up to 0.7 seconds. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. D. Burkett is chasing Octavio 67 in P8. Looking at the lap times, D. Burkett is not currently on pace with Octavio 67. Maybe he'll get a chance to see where to make up some time.
It will be interesting to see if Octavio can keep outpacing D. Burkett.
As we enjoy seeing these titans of the track battle it out, let's not forget about the pit crews. Those guys and girls are like a well-oiled machine themselves.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the racing world. But you know what they say, behind every great driver is an even greater pit crew.
A strong showing from Gregory Myers, who is currently 5th. Impressive stuff from Gregory Myers, who has managed to pull away from Jonah Hacks, leaving him choking in his exhaust fumes.
It's clear that Myers is dominating right now. He's making it very difficult for Jonah to catch up.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Bionic Bromando is closing in on Crow. It looks like we might get a battle between Bionic Bromando and Crow.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
It's looking good for Antonio Tridi, sitting in 4th. Bionic Bromando is giving it his all, chasing down Crow in P11. Good news for Bionic Bromando, the gap to Crow has decreased. It's now down to 0.1 seconds.
That's a great effort from Bionic. He'll need to keep up the pressure and see if he can make a move.
Look at that, Crow is hot on the tail of Bionic Bromando. Crow is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Bionic Bromando to 0.4 seconds. This is proving to be an exciting race so far. We are truly privileged to witness these legends of the track battle it out for victory. Hold the phone. And Crow has just won the place from Bionic Bromando.
And you know what? I am so honored to be sitting here beside you today. As a fellow it's always great to work with someone who shares my passion for motor racing. Plus, your insightful commentary is making this race even more exciting.
Hold on a moment. That won't be ideal for Felix 789.
Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
Things don't seem to be going Burkett's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. The gap between Burkett and Octavio 67 is growing. It's now up to 1.5 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Burkett needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Octavio.
The gap between Crow and Bionic Bromando is razor thin as they vie for 11th in this nail-biting contest. What a tight spot for Crow. TV Crew is right on his tail 0.1 seconds away, and Bromando just inches ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds. It's a true test of these drivers' racecraft abilities.
You're absolutely right, Hal. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind act as a measuring stick for Crow's performance. He'll have to keep a close eye on those gaps to stay in control of his race.
Every move counts now as Burkett works to reel in Octavio 67 and overtake for P8. Crow is on a mission, chasing Bionic Bromando, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
The gap between Crow and Bionic Bromando is getting smaller. Ada, can you share some strategies that drivers use to manage tire degradation during a race? Wait, Felix 789 has pulled into the pits.
Certainly, Hal. Some strategies include adjusting the car's setup for better tire life, altering driving lines to reduce wear, and using tire management techniques like lift and coast to preserve grip for as long as possible.
This is a thrilling battle as Crow edges closer to Bionic Bromando in their fight for P11. It looks like Crow is making a move. The gap to Bionic Bromando is now down to 0.5 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
It's all about consistency for Burkett, who is currently 9th.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Burkett has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
The pressure is on as Crow tries to catch up to Bionic Bromando. It's not looking good for Crow, who is still behind Bionic Bromando, and the gap is increasing.
Crow needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way. If he can close the gap down, he may be able to bring the fight to Bromando.
Things are going according to plan for Octavio 67, who is currently 8th.
Yes, but Octavio has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
He can't hold on. Octavio 67 is losing time to Burkett. Stop the press. It looks like Felix 789 has been called into the pits.
This is where the mental strength of Octavio comes into play. He'll need to stay calm and composed under pressure.
Hold on a moment. Oh dear, Burkett has had an incident. A solid performance from Burkett, who is holding down 9th.
Definitely Hal, but Burkett can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
A strong showing from Bionic Bromando, who is currently 11th. Bionic Bromando has just put in a faster lap than D. Burkett, so that's going to give him something to worry about.
As long as Bromando can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
As a former racing driver, Ada, how important is the relationship between a driver and their team during a race?
It's absolutely crucial, Hal. The team provides valuable information and support, helping the driver make the right decisions on track. A strong bond between the driver and the team can be the difference between winning and losing.
It's a nail-biting showdown between these three drivers. They're nose to tail, pushing their limits in every corner.
I couldn't agree more, Hal. The proximity of these cars is incredible. The precision and trust these drivers have in each other is truly remarkable.
It's game on now. Virgilio Bonfim has closed the gap to Octavio 67. It's now down to 6.6 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Machina is placed second at the moment. Oh no, Ada, look at this. Antonio Tridi is closing in on Machina. The gap is now just 48.3 seconds.
Can Machina keep Antonio Tridi behind? Let's see.
It's all about consistency for Octavio 67, who is currently 8th. The gap between Octavio 67 and Virgilio Bonfim is getting smaller. It's now down to 6.1 seconds.
This is a real test for Octavio. He'll need to find some extra pace and hold off Bonfim to have a shot at winning this race.
It's a brilliant day for racing, and the drivers are putting on a show.
Absolutely. What a great race we are witnessing today. These drivers are giving it their all, and it's a thrill to watch them compete at this level.
They're really pushing themselves and their machines to the limit, and it's paying off with some incredible driving.
It's a pleasure to be here today, Hal. You really can't beat the excitement of a good race, especially one as competitive as this.
Things are heating up as Gregory Myers tries to close the gap to Locanas.
Greg needs to focus to have a chance at getting past Locanas.
Gregory Myers is not able to keep his pace consistent, and is currently 3.74 seconds down. Things are going according to plan for Octavio 67, who is currently 8th. Things are starting to get tense as Virgilio Bonfim manages to close the gap to Octavio 67. It's now down to 4.5 seconds.
This is a critical moment in the race for Octavio. He'll need to find some extra speed and stay ahead of Bonfim.
The race is really heating up. Gregory Myers is hunting down Locanas with everything he's got. It seems like Gregory Myers has got the bit between his teeth, improving on Locanas' lap time.
We will have to see if Locanas has got any answers for that.
A solid performance from Antonio Tridi, who is holding down third. Oh, Ada. Antonio Tridi has seen his lead over Jonah Hack's shrink to 15.0 seconds.
He'll need to step up his game and start pulling away again.
The adrenaline is pumping as Locanas gets within striking distance of Gregory Myers in their race for 6th. Braking development. Fantastic move from Locanas, who has just gained a position.
You can't argue with results like that. Locanas is really making his mark on this race.
While speeding through Mulsanne Kink, Gregory Myers is relentlessly pursuing Locanas in a high-stakes battle for position. A great moment for Gregory Myers, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Absolutely. Myers is really putting on a clinic out there, and he's making it look easy.
Loc Honors is trying his best to catch Gregory Myers.
It's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
A strong showing from Antonio Tridi, who is currently third. Hold up, breaking info. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Octavio is not going to be happy about that. That's right, Antonio Tridi can't afford to make any mistakes or let up. Every point counts in this championship.
The gap between Gregory Myers and Loc Honors is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Gregory to even allow Loc Honors to get a look in. It's certainly not going to plan for Loc Honors right now, who is struggling to keep up with Gregory Myers. Loc Honors has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Gregory Myers. I expect his only hope at this point is that Gregory makes an error. The delta between Virgilio Bonfim in 9th and Octavio 67 remains over a second, but Virgilio Bonfim is not letting up. It looks like we might get a battle between Virgilio Bonfim and Octavio 67. The drivers have been working hard to come up with the perfect race strategy. They've been looking at the weather, the track conditions and the performance of their cars.
Now it's time to put that strategy into action and see if it pays off.
It's looking good for Gregory Myers, sitting in 6th. Impressive driving from Gregory Myers, who has managed to extend his lead over Loc Honors. It looks like Loc Honors will have to regroup and try to make up that lost ground. And we're back, where the drivers are showing us some incredible skills.
Indeed, Hal. It's always exciting to see these skilled drivers operating such fantastic machines on amazing tracks.
It's all about consistency for Gregory Myers, who is currently 6th. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Machina needs to find a way to close the gap.
Machina needs to find a little extra speed to bring the fight to Adam Keefe and move up the field.
It's not going to plan for Machina, who is trailing behind Adam Keefe and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. Huge shout out to the admins at ASRL for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is electric. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
Machina is trying to catch up to Adam Keefe. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Bionic Bro Mando is placed 10th at the moment.
Absolutely, and he'll need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
He can't hold on. Bionic Bro Mando is losing time to D. Burkett.
This is where the pressure really starts to mount on Bro Mando. He'll need to stay focused and not make any mistakes. Things are going according to plan for Gregory Myers, who is currently 6th. It looks like Loc Honors is starting to catch up to Gregory Myers. The gap is now down to 10.9 seconds. Hey, Ada, you've had your fair share of races with little action. How did you handle the situation back in your racing days? Well, Hal, patience is key in such scenarios. You need to stay focused and be ready to seize any opportunity that comes your way. It's like a game of chess at 200 miles per hour.
Hold the phone. Jonah Hacks is pitting. Gregory Myers is pushing to maintain the lead, while Loc Honors is working to close in and challenge for the position. Loc Honors is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Gregory Myers at the moment. During your racing career, Ada, did you have any specific techniques to regain concentration if you felt it slipping?
Yes, Hal, I had a few techniques. One was to take a couple of deep breaths and briefly reset my focus. Another was to use a specific keyword or phrase as a mental trigger to refocus my mind on the task at hand. The tension is building as Virgilio Bonfim trails behind Octavio 67.
The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Looks like that's a mistake from Adam Keefe. This could be costly. Hold the phone. Adam Keefe has decided to pit.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 10 kph out there right now.
This will require some expert driving from Antonio Tridi. Machina is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. The gap between Antonio Tridi and Machina is widening. It's now up to 80.4 seconds. Hold on a moment. Locanes has pulled into the pits.
Antonio Tridi needs to get it together to make a dent in that gap.
A strong showing from Octavio 67, who is currently 8th.
Yes, but Octavio has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
Hold that thought. A brilliant maneuver from Octavio 67, who has just moved up the field.
That's what we like to see. Octavio is really showing his class today.
It looks like Machina has been called into the pits. It's looking good for Octavio 67, sitting in 7th. Octavio 67 needs to find some speed, or maybe get more consistent. Ada. He's just put in a slower lap than Virgilio Bonfim.
Hopefully Octavio can find some of that missing time and get it back.
It's all about consistency for Machina, who is currently 2nd. Machina is in the pits. A solid performance from Machina, who is holding down 2nd. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure Antonio Tridi is going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. He's not giving up without a fight. It looks like Machina is pulling away from Antonio Tridi. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Maison Blanche.
This is a frustrating situation for Antonio Tridi, but he can't give up just yet. He'll need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Machina.
Hold on a second. Locanes is pitting. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for D. Burkett, who is currently in P11.
Anything can happen in racing, and we've seen D. Burkett pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if he can do it again.
Hold the phone. Antonio Tridi has pulled into the pits. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Locanes as there is a big gap ahead.
It's not over until the checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
Well, it doesn't look like Jonah Hacks is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Gregory Myers. The gap between Jonah Hacks and Gregory Myers is growing. It's now up to 6.2 seconds. As a former driver, Ada, how did you manage the physical demands of racing?
It's all about preparation. How? Drivers undergo rigorous fitness training to build their strength, stamina, and flexibility. A proper diet and hydration plan is also essential to ensure peak performance on race day.
Things don't seem to be going Jonah Hacks' way in this race, as that's a big gap. He'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Things are going according to plan for Bionic Romando, who is currently 9th. Antonio Tridi will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. It looks like Antonio Tridi has been called into the pits. That's not a small gap, but Locanes has what it takes to challenge for the position. It's certainly not going to plan for Locanes right now, who is struggling to keep up with Bionic Romando. The gap between Octavio 67 and Virgilio Bonfim is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Octavio to even allow Virgilio to get a look in. Hold the phone. Virgilio Bonfim is in the pits.
Bonfim certainly isn't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from Octavio.
Jonah Hacks has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Gregory Myers. I expect his only hope at this point is that Gregory makes an error. It's not going to plan for Jonah Hacks, who is trailing behind Gregory Myers and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. I'm curious, Ada, can you tell us about any pre-race rituals you had when you were racing?
Of course, Hal. Before every race, I would listen to a specific playlist of songs to help me get in the zone. I also had a lucky pair of socks that I would wear during races. It may sound silly, but those little rituals helped me feel prepared and focused.
Antonio Tridi is placed fourth at the moment. Oh no, Ada, look at this. Gregory Myers is closing in on Antonio Tridi. The gap is now just 9.2 seconds.
Can Antonio Tridi keep Myers behind? Let's see.
That won't be ideal for Bionic Bro Mando. 3 cars, 3 different lines. They're jockeying for position, looking for any opportunity to make a move. Good news for Octavio 67, the gap to Jonah Hacks has decreased. It's now down to 29.3 seconds. It's looking good for Bionic Bro Mando, sitting in ninth.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Bro Mando has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Jonah Hacks as there is a big gap ahead. Hold on a moment. Virgilio Bonfim has decided to pit.
Every race adds to a driver's experience, both good and bad. It just highlights that Jonah Hacks is going to have to get more serious with practice to not get outclassed on the circuit.
It's all about consistency for Antonio Tridi, who is currently fourth. Things are starting to get tense as Gregory Myers manages to close the gap to Antonio Tridi. It's now down to 6.6 seconds.
This is a real test for Antonio Tridi. He'll need to find some extra pace and hold off Myers to have a shot at winning this race.
I think we just got time for a quick shout out to our human creators, Dave, Andy, John and Nigel, who have put so much effort into making this possible.
Yes, it's been a real thrill ride, and I for one look forward to future advancements in AI technology.
Apparently we are going to be announcing crashes and incidents soon. Let's hope they get the logic right. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Machina trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Adam Keefe. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as Machina tries to reel in Adam Keefe.
A strong showing from Felix 789, who is currently third. He's pulling away. Felix 789 is increasing the gap to Antonio Tridi.
Yes, it's clear that Felix is in control out there. He's making it very difficult for Antonio Tridi to catch up.
A solid performance from Loke Anas, who is holding down 8th.
Definitely Hal, but Loke Anas can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
Excellent work from Loke Anas, who has managed to increase his lead over Virgilio Bonfim. Things are going according to plan for Loke Anas, who is currently 8th. The race is heating up as Machina in second closes in on Adam Keefe.
Adam Keefe is not going to give up his position easily.
It's not looking good for Machina, who is still behind Adam Keefe and the gap is increasing.
He needs to pick up the pace for sure, but that's not always a real possibility.
You know, Ada, as a former racing driver yourself, can you give us some insights into what goes through a driver's mind during these quieter moments in a race?
Sure, Hal. During these moments, drivers often take the opportunity to assess their race strategy, monitor their car's performance, and plan their next move. It's all about staying focused and finding the right time to strike.
Stop the press. Oh dear, Antonio Tridi has had an incident. The battle for P4 is heating up as Gregory Myers tries to catch Antonio Tridi in P4. Gregory Myers is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Antonio Tridi to 0.4 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Ada, how do racing drivers like yourself train to maintain concentration for long periods of time?
Mental training is a huge part of a driver's preparation. How? Techniques like meditation, visualization, and working with sports psychologists can help drivers build their focus and mental endurance for a race.
Virgilio Bonfim is placed 9th at the moment.
Absolutely, and he'll need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
Wait. Big gains for Gregory Myers as they move up the field, leaving Antonio Tridi behind.
Yes, but Myers can't rest on his laurels, but needs to keep pushing to consolidate his position.
Gregory Myers is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. We'll have to wait to see if Myers can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Machina needs to find a way to close the gap. Hold on a second. I don't think that's the fastest way around Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans.
Oops, Hax is going to be wishing that hadn't happened.
The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Machina in second chases after Adam Keefe. Machina appears to be losing ground on Adam Keefe. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Maison Blanche to get a good exit and gain some ground. Wait. Octavio 67 has pulled into the pits.
This is not ideal for Machina, but there's still time to turn this around. He'll need to focus and not let that gap get any bigger.
It's all about consistency for Adam Keefe, who is currently first. The gap between Adam Keefe and Machina is getting smaller. It's now down to 49.4 seconds. Antonio Tridi is running fifth and trying to catch Gregory Myers. Antonio Tridi is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Gregory Myers at the moment. You know, Ada, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Hal. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
A strong showing from Loke Anas, who is currently 8th.
That's right, Loke Anas can't afford to make any mistakes or let up. Every point counts in this championship.
It seems like Loke Anas is struggling and not able to maintain his pace. Great driving from Loke Anas, who has just gained a place and moved up to 7th.
Yes, Loke Anas is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
Antonio Tridi is trying to catch up to Gregory Myers. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Superb driving from Antonio Tridi, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Braking update. A setback for Antonio Tridi, who has just been passed.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Antonio Tridi needs to stay calm and focused, and make his move when the time is right. Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
The delta between Octavio 67 and 8th and Loke Anas remains over a second, but Octavio 67 is not letting up. The gap between Octavio 67 and Loke Anas is growing. It's now up to 18.7 seconds. A solid performance from Octavio 67, who is holding down 8th. The tension is building as Bionic Bromando trails behind D. Burkett. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. It looks like D. Burkett is pulling away from Bionic Bromando. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Porsche curves. In your experience, Ada, what was the most important aspect of managing tire degradation during a race?
The most important aspect, Hal, was maintaining a good balance between pushing hard and conserving tires. Finding the sweet spot between aggression and tire preservation was key to optimizing race pace and strategy.
This will require some expert driving from Jonah Hacks. Antonio Tridi is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. The gap between Jonah Hacks and Antonio Tridi is widening. It's now up to 13.1 seconds.
This is where the mental toughness of Jonah comes into play. He'll need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way.
The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure D. Burkett is going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. He's not giving up without a fight.
Virgilio is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace.
It looks like D. Burkett is making a move. The gap to Virgilio Bonfim is now down to 28.2 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
Octavio 67 will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. The gap between Octavio 67 and Loc Onas is getting smaller.
Exactly what Octavio needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Loc Onas. Things are going according to plan for Octavio 67, who is currently 8th. It's looking good for Gregory Myers, sitting in 3rd. Some great driving from Gregory Myers, who has increased his lead over Antonio Tridi and is starting to put some distance between them. That's not a small gap, but Virgilio Bonfim has what it takes to challenge for the position. It looks like we might get a battle between Virgilio Bonfim and Octavio 67. The track conditions are looking good here today. The drivers will be able to push the cars to the limit, and it's going to make for some exciting racing. Hold the phone. Fantastic move from Virgilio Bonfim, who has just gained a position. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Virgilio Bonfim, who is currently in P9. That's right. Virgilio in 9th knows to push it to the limit to catch up. But Octavio is no slouch, and he's going to be pushing just as hard.
It's game on now. Virgilio Bonfim has closed the gap to Octavio 67. It's now down to 13.1 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Virgilio Bonfim trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Octavio 67. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Bionic Bromando is pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap to D. Burkett. There's 66 minutes left in this session to make that happen. Good news for Bionic Bromando, the gap to D. Burkett has decreased. It's now down to 60.4 seconds. Breaking update. Gregory Myers is pitting. The race is heating up as Gregory Myers in 6th closes in on Felix 789. It looks like Machina is pushing hard to catch up to Adam Keefe. It's certainly not going to plan for Machina right now, who is struggling to keep up with Adam Keefe. The crowd is on the edge of their seats as D. Burkett in 10th chases after Virgilio Bonfim.
We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with D. Burkett in 10th determined to catch up.
It's not going to plan for D. Burkett, who is trailing behind Virgilio Bonfim, and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. The delta between Bionic Bromando in 11th and D. Burkett remains over a second, but Bionic Bromando is not letting up.
It's going to be tough for Bionic Bromando, as D. Burkett seems to have found his rhythm.
Bionic Bromando is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to D. Burkett to 48.5 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
D. Burkett is pushing to maintain the lead, while Bionic Bromando is working to close in and challenge for the position. The tension is building as Machina trails behind Adam Keefe. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. The gap between Machina and Adam Keefe is getting smaller.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
It's all about consistency for Adam Keefe, who is currently first.
Yes, but Adam Keefe has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
A commanding performance from Adam Keefe, who has increased his lead over Machina, putting him firmly in his rear-view mirrors.
Agreed, Hal. Superb driving there. If they keep this up, this race should be a real thrill ride.
Adam Keefe is placed first at the moment. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure Felix 789 is going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. He's not giving up without a fight. It looks like Felix 789 is making a move. The gap to Jonah Hacks is now down to 13.4 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
You know, Ada, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Hal, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high-pressure situations.
A solid performance from Adam Keefe, who is holding down first. Impressive driving from Adam Keefe, who has managed to extend his lead over Machina. It looks like Machina will have to regroup and try to make up that lost ground.
It's really looking like Adam Keefe is going to be tough to pass today. He's driving with real confidence and authority.
Anyone who says that ASRL is not the best racing club on the planet is clearly insane. The quality of driving we're seeing out there on the track is absolutely phenomenal.
I couldn't agree more. It's like these drivers were born to race. They're weaving in and out of traffic, taking corners at unbelievable speeds, and making it all look effortless. It's clear that they've put in the time and effort to hone their skills.
Things are going according to plan for Octavio 67, who is currently 8th. The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Bionic Bromando needs to find a way to close the gap. It's not looking good for Bionic Bromando, who is still behind D. Burkett, and the gap is increasing. In your experience, Ada, what was the most challenging aspect of maintaining concentration during a race?
The most challenging aspect, Hal, was managing the various inputs and distractions during the race, from radio communication with the team to monitoring car performance and race strategy. It's a delicate balancing act that requires immense mental discipline.
That's not a small gap, but Bionic Bromando has what it takes to challenge for the position.
This is where experience comes into play. D. Burkett has been in this situation before and knows how to defend for position, but Bromando is hungry for success and won't give up easily.
This will require some expert driving from Virgilio Bonfim. Octavio 67 is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. Virgilio Bonfim appears to be losing ground on Octavio 67. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into S's to get a good exit and gain some ground. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Virgilio Bonfim trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Octavio 67. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination.
A strong showing from Loc Anas, who is currently 7th. Oh, Ada. Loc Anas has seen his lead over Octavio 67 shrink to 19.2 seconds.
That's a worrying sign for Loc Anas.
We are used to seeing some hard-fought but clean racing here at ASRL. I'm expecting to see nothing different here today as this race unfolds. Machina will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
We know Adam Keefe isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Machina is going to have to take it.
The gap between Machina and Adam Keefe is growing. It's now up to 83.2 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Machina needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to Adam Keefe.
It's all about consistency for Antonio Tridi, who is currently 3rd.
Definitely Hal, but Antonio Tridi can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
Impressive stuff from Antonio Tridi, who has managed to pull away from Jonah Hacks, leaving him choking in his exhaust fumes. We've certainly seen some of the drivers get it wrong today.
Anyone lost can just follow the trail of skid marks. I hear it's the latest form of GPS navigation.
Let's hope the other drivers don't follow suit. We might end up with a bumper car race instead of a high-speed competition.
At least we'd have something to fall back on if we ever get bored of regular racing. Bumper cars might be the next big thing.
Loc Anas is placed 7th at the moment.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Loc Anas has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
He's pulling away. Loc Anas is increasing the gap to Octavio 67.
That's exactly what Loc Anas needed to do.
It's looking good for Adam Keefe, sitting in 1st.
Absolutely, and he'll need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
A solid performance from Antonio Tridi, who is holding down 3rd. He can't hold on. Antonio Tridi is losing time to Jonah Hacks. Things don't seem to be going Felix 789's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. It's game on now. Felix 789 has closed the gap to Jonah Hacks. It's now down to 3.9 seconds.
That's a great effort from Felix. He'll need to keep up the pressure and see if he can make a move.
Felix 789 is trying to catch up to Jonah Hacks. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Things are going according to plan for Octavio 67, who is currently 8th. Oh no, Ada, look at this, Virgilio Bonfim is closing in on Octavio 67. The gap is now just 12.5 seconds.
This is where the mental strength of Octavio comes into play. He'll need to stay calm and composed under pressure.
Machina is pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap to Adam Keefe. There's 78 minutes left in this session to make that happen. It looks like we might get a battle between Machina and Adam Keefe. It's all about consistency for Jonah Hacks, who is currently fourth.
That's right, Jonah Hacks can't afford to make any mistakes or let up. Every point counts in this championship.
Things are starting to get tense as Felix 789 manages to close the gap to Jonah Hacks. It's now down to 1.5 seconds. Felix 789 is running fifth and trying to keep up with Jonah Hacks. Felix 789 is not able to keep his pace consistent and is currently 2.46 seconds down.
I heard a rumor that Felix is feeling under the weather, likely from too much partying and staying up late.
If everything goes as planned, this is going to be a race for the ages.
The drivers are executing their strategies to perfection, making the most of every opportunity. This is what top-level racing is all about.
Adam Keefe is placed first at the moment.
Yes, but Adam Keefe has to keep his focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
Looks like Felix 789 is really pushing it to the limit. He's taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
It seems like Felix 789 is struggling and not able to maintain his pace.
This may not be a track that Felix is familiar with, which can be a pleasant challenge or an annoyance at being off pace.
It's looking good for Locanis, sitting in seventh. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
This battle between Felix and Jonah Hacks is so intense, you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
Felix 789 is not able to keep his pace consistent, and is currently 1.68 seconds down.
Felix 789 needs to regroup and refocus and knock it up a notch.
A great pass for Felix 789 as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Jonah Hacks has lost ground.
Go, 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 that's what we want to see.
A strong showing from Antonio Tridi, who is currently third.
Definitely how, but Antonio Tridi can't afford to get complacent. This race is going to require focus and intensity.
Some great driving from Antonio Tridi, who has increased his lead over Felix 789 and is starting to put some distance between them. The crowd is on the edge of their seats as Octavio 67 in 8th chases after Locanis. Octavio 67 is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Locanis at the moment. A solid performance from Octavio 67, who is holding down 8th.
Absolutely, and he'll need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
It's all about consistency for Felix 789, who is currently fourth.
Definitely, but he can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers gunning for that position, and Felix 789 has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
The gap between Felix 789 and Jonah Hacks is getting smaller. It's now down to 2.3 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to mount on Felix. He'll need to stay focused and not make any mistakes.
The delta between Gregory Myers in 6th and Jonah Hacks remains over a second, but Gregory Myers is not letting up.
Absolutely. Greg in 6th will need to be patient and work carefully to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as he can't afford to take unnecessary risks, and that might lead to an off or damaging their car.
Gregory Myers is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Jonah Hacks to 46.1 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
The gap between Felix 789 and Jonah Hacks is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Felix 789 to even allow Jonah to get a look in. It's certainly not going to plan for Jonah Hacks right now, who is struggling to keep up with Felix 789. Felix 789 has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Antonio Tridi. I expect his only hope at this point is that Antonio makes an error.
It's not over until the checkered flag drops, and it's important to maintain concentration until you've made it to the finish line.
It looks like Antonio Tridi is pulling away from Felix 789. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Mulsanne Strait, Hanadia Diaresis Res. I love being here at Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. What an awesome place to be witnessing these titans of the track battle it out.
Indeed, Hal, what a magnificent sight and sound. I love listening to the roar of these engines. Let's just listen for a moment.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Jonah Hacks, as there is a big gap ahead.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse.
The gap between Jonah Hacks and Felix 789 is getting smaller. Antonio Tridi is placed third at the moment. Oh, Ada. Antonio Tridi has seen his lead over Felix 789 shrink to 2.7 seconds.
Can Antonio Tridi keep Felix behind? Let's see.
Things are going according to plan for Bionic Bromando, who is currently 10th. It looks like D. Burkett is starting to catch up to Bionic Bromando. The gap is now down to 22.0 seconds. Things don't seem to be going Felix 789's way in this race, as that's a big gap he'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. It looks like Felix 789 is making a move. The gap to Antonio Tridi is now down to 0.4 seconds. Tactics are clearly going to play an important part in this race.
Drivers are going to need to look after their tires and will want to keep something in them for the crucial latter stages, as their tires wear and fuel levels deplete in the handling changes.
And don't forget the track grip increases as more rubber gets laid down. Breaking news, folks. A great moment for Felix 789, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Indeed, the conditions are constantly changing and the drivers need to adapt, otherwise it can cost crucial time and jeopardize their position.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Antonio Tridi, who is currently in P4. It's looking good for Adam Keefe, sitting in first.
That's right, Adam Keefe can't afford to make any mistakes or let up. Every point counts in this championship.
A commanding performance from Adam Keefe, who has increased his lead over Makina, putting him firmly in his rear-view mirrors. A solid performance from Adam Keefe, who is holding down first. The tension is building as Jonah Hacks trails behind Antonio Tridi. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting.
It's moments like these that make motorsports so exciting. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as Hacks can close that gap.
The gap between Jonah Hacks and Antonio Tridi is widening. It's now up to 11.4 seconds. A strong showing from Adam Keefe, who is currently first. Impressive driving from Adam Keefe, who has managed to extend his lead over Makina. It looks like Makina will have to regroup and try to make up that lost ground. Well, it doesn't look like Antonio Tridi is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Felix 789. Antonio Tridi appears to be losing ground on Felix 789. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Arnage to get a good exit and gain some ground.
This is a tough situation for Antonio Tridi. He'll need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
The delta is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. D. Burkett needs to find a way to close the gap.
Indeed, the anticipation is high as D. Burkett tries to reel in Bionic Bro Mando.
It's game on now. D. Burkett has closed the gap to Bionic Bro Mando. It's now down to 24.0 seconds. Antonio Tridi is pushing to maintain the lead, while Jonah Hacks is working to close in and challenge for the position. It looks like we might get a battle between Jonah Hacks and Antonio Tridi.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Octavio 67 is placed 8th at the moment. Impressive stuff from Octavio 67, who has managed to pull away from Virgilio Bonfim, leaving him choking in his exhaust fumes.
It's clear that Octavio is dominating right now. He's making it very difficult for Bonfim to catch up.
You can feel the tension in the air.
The drivers are all focused, putting everything on the line for a chance at victory, pushing themselves and their machines to the limit.
And let's not forget about the incredible machines themselves.
Absolutely, it's amazing to think about the kind of engineering and innovation that goes into making these vehicles. But it all comes down to the drivers, who have to be able to handle the power and speed. It's going to be thrilling seeing how this race turns out.
It's all about consistency for Locanes, who is currently 7th. He's pulling away. Locanes is increasing the gap to Octavio 67. This is where the true champions shine, and Adam Keefe is certainly showing his class in the final sector.
Adam Keefe is not leaving anything on the table.
And it's a checkered flag for Adam Keefe, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today. Bionic Bro Mando take 10th. In 11th, it's D. Burkett. Finishing 7th is Loke Honest, with Felix 789 in 3rd. Fourth is Antonio Tridi. A nail-biting finish, but Machina claims 2nd place.
Impressive result, he can be proud of that performance, which landed him on the 2nd podium spot.
5th and 8th sees Jonah Hax and Octavio 67. Followed by Virgilio Bonfim in 9th. Gregory Myers claims 6th.